Hi, you guys. It's MJ from Love. I was getting a bit of a download around, again, just sort of words and noodling with um, sort of different embodiment understandings of manifestation and also like authenticity, just being who you are in this world, which apparently is one of the most challenging things that any of us ever endeavor to do. So, weirdly, I've put in my notes like one is perspective, two is vibration, and three is awareness. However, it goes back to front when it comes to ultimately truly changing our perspective, which, as we know, changes our world. We have to work with awareness and vibration because it's ultimately our awareness and our vibes which are creating the world, hence that which we receive vibrationally and in our awareness, right? The perspective is always like a tunnel choice, like choosing ABC door, right? Which perspective do you want to look through? Well, uh, in my awareness, unless you're going quite deeply into your awareness via the vibrations that you are, i.e., the emotions that you are, unless you can penetrate and go deeper into the awareness, i.e., a vibrational field, then you can expand and have more options for your perspective. And I guess I noodle with this because often people have been like, well, I guess we'll just agree to disagree. And I'm like, well, that's okay. And yet, in my awareness, I'd be like, okay, but the way I'm feeling is that that's just a limited perspective. You're choosing to have a limited perspective rather than see it from different points of view, right? And what I'm having to just fully understand is that people choose. So if people don't want to go deeper into their awareness, they just choose to fix on that perspective. That's the world. That's my place in it. That's all there is. And you or no one else is going to make me go any deeper than that to question myself, to question. And even as I say it, I'm like, it's futile. It's totally futile to try to um, make somebody mentally see from your point of view if they're not vibrating it. So the perspective is always mind, and that has to do with ultimately just our ability to be open minded. And again, the relationship of an open mind and an open, grounded sensory perception is ultimately like one and the same thing. If we're ill and in fear and have all these erratic emotions going on, then we're ultimately feeding off of the programming. We're feeding off of the world we were bought, or the world that we were sold and that we bought into at some point throughout our lives, because it appeared normal, it appeared to be the status quo, and we were also sort of sold that this world was going to keep us safe as long as we followed the rules. Most of us are discovering that even in following the initial rules, we began to feel really shitty, disconnected, disempowered. And then as we began to unravel the disempowered structure, we realized that that was inherent in the system that we bought into. So there's a huge outworking of our spiritual awareness. No, it's more flip. So there's an outworking of the vibrational field, which expands, which helps to ground us into the physical, expand us into spirit, i.e., etheria, i.e., um, just the invisible realms, which we know actually create the perception in the material realms that we live in form. Um, and then ultimately, so I guess again it's pretty simple, but this is what spiritual practices or metaphysics is, and the evolution of science, hi, is really trying to get through to us, is like we are creating the reality. And when shitty shits are happening in our lives, it's the fact that there's something really deep going on that we need to be able to address within the depth. Hence why more and more of us on this path tend to talk about things like past life, cosmic origin. Any one of us that have gone down a quote unquote spiritual path at some point tend to have memory of past life, which then makes helps us to make sense on the intellectual level of why we do certain things. We're now moving into a huge area, a portal of us clearing out finally, thank God, these 13,000 year cycles of our ancestry, which then that makes sense about us going back 10, 12, 13, 14, up to 14 generations, right? That's a fairly extensive amount of time. And then on the astral level, there is this 13,000, 26,000, 2,000, 6,000. There's all these little mini culmination cycles of fairly low level controller energy that's been existing within this planetary realm. Now that's leaving now. The Draco, the Atlantean fire, all that stuff is now departing this earth realm. It doesn't belong here with where the earth's moving into its binary solar system. um, it's just path, right? It's the path. We, in our beingness, as we continue to move forward, again, we don't need to do anything. We are the way, it's already all within us. As we move, as we continue, as we just embody the truth of our knowing, then the world is embodying the truth of her knowing as well in this more divine, um, expanded state. It means that there's no lack. That's ultimately like we return to wholeness in the divine remembrance that there is no lack in truth in energy. That's why it's spiritual warfare. It's invisible to the human eye from the 3D perspective. It's invisible, sort of galactic warfare or spiritual warfare going on in the universe, which is impacting adversely the veiling of the humanity. So the reason humans are veiled is because of this galactic warfare. For a lot of us that resonate with channels like this, it's because we're here from different parts of the multiverse. We're here from different parts of the galaxy going, hey, no. Essentially, we're guardians of light. It's to do with our own soul's journey and our own soul's growth. The truth of our knowingness is that we can recognize there has always been a sense of a battle in light and dark in this universal outworking. In as far as a soul's growth, when we are seated as consciousness, we are seated as the potential that we embody in the seed. So those of us who have traced our beingness back to the sort of birthplace in the universe or the multiverse, because it's a parallel, it's sort of infinity parallel timeline of infinite universes. So when we can trace back to that seated point, you kind of know deep down like the nature of your beingness. So for a lot of us, we will resonate with just the purity of peace and love. It's just peace and love. It's just an infinite void with little tiny specks of light. It's not busy, it's not frenetic, it's not trying to get, it's not trying to prove. It just is the peace. It is that which radiates an essence of love, an unconditional essence of love and neutrality for all that is. The most furthest reaching creative universes are just the tiniest spark of light. We often think of these grandiose visions, and yet for a lot of us, if we're really honest and true, we're just like lone rangers in this universe or throughout through the infinity of the cosmos. There's no inherent attachment to this planet, which is why some of us have these weird perspectives, is because there's nothing on this planet that I want to take or get or harness. This is truly about shifting humanity's heart field into that of love, from base tones of greed, fear, lack, blah blah, and then vibrationally through the divine remembrance and the journeying of this planet, we actually begin to embed the lightness that we are, the truth of we are, through our remembrance. That's the anchoring in, i.e., we do the emotional storms that shifts our vibes every time. And then it helps to have this subtle perspective shift. Every time we can drop deeper into the divine void, which is the expanse of your emotional awareness, that expands the totality of your awareness, which helps you to ground deeper and then expand broader. So that it's not about this like one perspective over another. It's ultimately, as a human, being able to recognize you have infinite choices, you have infinite perspectives. That's what ultimately removes us from a cycle of duality into harmony. It's not that duality doesn't exist, is that we can perpetually choose. So we don't have to, like, this won't last, or if it's going up, it's got to come down. Yeah. but we don't live in fear of that, and you don't resist that, you honor that. So the ups comes with the downs, but because you're already in a whole awareness of it, you don't react, i.e. we are not the duality. The duality helps us to exist with more awareness here. The duality is helping us to learn more about our own soul essence, i.e. a paradox, polarity, duality, in as far as creation in form. When you're connected to the cosmos, this is an evident. It's obvious that, because when you remember your galactic portals, when or lifetimes, or you remember certain cosmic like visions of wormholes and like traveling across dimensions and stuff, then it all like the weird 3D human story just becomes a little like, oh, bless, like. And yet again, it's like purely that we would need to open the heart in full to keep pioneering the path that we're on as a humanity. This isn't like, this isn't really about the individual, and yet we have to understand individuality based in sovereignty, soul sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty. Spiritual sovereignty is like a sort of like a divine law across the universes within the void. Sovereignty is really the God source. It's the fact that every being on a soul journey is coming to its sovereignty piece to be the full fledged divine creator that it's chosen to become. Otherwise, we don't necessarily get born. So our birthplace is ultimately a recognition that we are on a journey of light, to embody the God source that we are, to make that manifest in whatever form, wherever we go. And that's why there's no judgment within the polarity of the light and the dark. Just focus on your own journey, because that's the only journey there is. And it's not about denying or pushing aside other people's journey, but it's about resonance. If somebody's not like vibrating with you in your journey, then the journeys aren't in alignment. It's resonance, connection, familiarity, and not through codependency, but through sovereignty, i.e. radiate your authenticity and you attract your tribe, whatever that expression is, right? And I'm totally 100% experiencing this, like beyond what I ever imagined possible. And of course, because it's on the internet, it's like beyond the veil, because you can't control and try to get um even though, psychologists and marketeers and stuff would talk about that, I'm not interested per se in that tactic, because I'm interested to see just the purity of the heart field of what comes in. Um, Saying that, I just spent 15 pounds on an actual Instagram ad, but not for my Alt to Love products, actually, just for the retreat, the Unplug retreat, because I have a feeling there might be some paraglider yoga people out there in the world that want to come along to that. So uh, I'm so freaking transparent with you guys. Like any little bit of like, oh no, I have to share, because I'm like, I would never want you to. I get, maybe it's all that YouTube drama that's happening right now in the beauty community, where I just feel like, uh, I guess it's one of those. It's a perfect example of our reactivity, and how so often our reactivity isn't anchored in any. It's not true. It is anchored, but it's anchored in a past illusion. Hence why we react, and then often things can continue to unfold, and we realize that we were reacting. What I want to say. So the reaction was like way more intense than the actual thing. That is always to me like a culmination of past lives and cycles, because it doesn't warrant the amount of kind of attention, and yet it hits a chord, a nerve, it hits a trigger point in the mass collective, because that situation, obviously so many people are super heightened about it all. um at the end of the day, I guess what it brings back to me is like that's still where like the dominant mass is. Like ever people still feed off of the drama. I do as well. I get hooked into it, and I guess it's just like any of us when we get caught up in the drama, it's our ego. It's just our, because these are such extraordinarily privileged and wealthy and, got it all type of personalities and people. And it's no different than mainstream media. This is where social media is becoming like that. Like, we just fixate on the external dramas. So we make those people's dramas our own dramas because our life is so boring or whatever. Our life is so non-drama fueled, and so we make the world politic, or we make these influencer people, whatever, the drama in our lives, not realizing that unconsciously we then actually embody that drama and perpetuate it in our lives, versus having a more expanded awareness via going deeper into the emotional field on a regular basis. Not one time having an emotional healing and then you're done. This is a new way of being. This is what I think a lot of people don't get. Although clients, once I've been working with clients for usually like a while, so it's often super high mode, like feeling mega excitable, and then the emotional storms start to really happen. And they realize that it's not one time, it's like every time. So I often get messages from people just being like, "Oh my God, when does it end? It's so relentless." I'm like, "Well, it doesn't." I'm not at an end point. I have emotional storms. I have emotions. I just totally let them be there. I don't stifle them. I don't, and I cry a lot and I'm sensitive, and I just don't, I'm not gonna inhibit my truth for other because it makes other feel uncomfortable. And the relentlessness is the fact that, well, we've been relentlessly fucking programmed to be slaves. Sit down, shut up, and do what you're told since we were 3 years old. So that's a pretty relentless indoctrination of enslavement. Sit down, shut up, watch TV. Sit down, shut up, drink alcohol. Sit down, shut up, take a pill. Sit down, shut up, put nice clothes on. Sit down, shut up, get married. Sit down, right? Like, right? Like, the program is so ingrained in us, and we're so disciplined to fear and lack that love blows our world and our mind, but because we feel, we want to disconnect because we're so used to not feeling. And actual alive humans are kind of radical. I've had teammates or people that I've worked with for periods of time. You guys know I'm fairly reclusive, but they'll find it bizarre, the way people approach me and talk to me, and they see this edge, around, and or they'll see a kind of vampiric energy, people coming up to me after a class or a workshop or a talk, and the way they would see the energy, and that's hence, and I would say, but that's part of the responsibility of a teacher or a leader, anyone of us who is called to actually express and stand in front of people, and they call it being a public figure or whatever. Then we have to, so if we're shining light, we have to expect that polarity. As much as I can attract amazing people, clients, customers, doing all that business side of things, I have to be increasingly discerning with the people who want my attention, who want my time, who want to do stuff. um, because increasingly that's not where my point of attraction is. Increasingly it's the self actualization, and then the messaging that comes through for all to love. Everything else work wise gets delegated, and ultimately, there's a sort of 15-minute window after a gig. So I'm just very disciplined when I've had enough. So I used to maybe get caught and have chats with customers or class participants for sometimes up to like an hour. People just chatting to me, which often would be totally fine. But after a while, as I grew in responsibility, I realized this isn't part of the job. If people want some counseling after a yoga class, they have to book it. They're not just gonna like meet up for coffee. And any people who have pioneered an actual successful coaching business or yoga business know what I'm talking about, and or anyone in the healer community, blah blah, where And this is also connected to the denial of the feminine energy and the fact that the feminine energy has not been valued on an economic level. People just assume you want to have a chat. Like, I'm a lovely, nice yoga teacher, so I'm going to want to sit here and listen to all your problems. Hence why a lot of us end up moving into the world of coaching, because I need to learn about boundary. I need to learn about my energy and energy of other, and what's a harmonious exchange, and what's me being taken advantage of, because my energy is what my energy is, and people want my energy, whether they're saying they want this, that, or the other. Normally when people want to be around you or want to have a chat with you, unconsciously they want something from you, and they're just trying to find routes around to get to it, because they're not quite making the dots that you're a human being, um, who has value in their words and their energy and their heart. And that's a, um, what's the word, economical exchange, a financial exchange in the world of economy, versus my actual inner circle of reality, which the majority are all doing the same work. Large majority. They're always opening their mind to more perspective. They're owning and transforming their vibrations, and they're expanding their awareness by grounding it deeper. Hence, grounding it deeper means that you have to continue to penetrate down into the veil, or beyond, or through the veil of your own energetic fears. So you have to keep penetrating those vibrational feelings, those emotional storms, in order to shift your energy, to clear out, i.e., drop in deeper, expand bigger, open your mind to more perspective. And then that allows you to choose the healing here. And this is where, again, I sidestep any external healing modality, is that your healer, the fullness of your healing capacity is to do with everything you are and everything that you feel and everything that you think. And then that's to do with the biofeedback. So everything that you're biofeedbacking of. Here's the thing with biofeedback. Like, the legit truth here is that we want to be around people that literally make us feel sublime, bliss, ecstasy. Be around people that when we're with them, it all is just this beyond miraculous thing. I've experienced that. At the same time, I've experienced, like, and I try to noodle with it as far as, like, why do we break it? Why do we run away? Why do we, like, for me, having different experiences, like mega love heart vibration, and then, like, it all going to shit and it all going all fucked up, and then realizing, like, I guess sometimes we overcomplicate love. Like, sometimes we overthink it, over analyze it, and or we're just under veils and we don't realize, or we make all these assumptions and we don't realize, and then ultimately we deny love. We deny our potential. We deny our potential with another. We deny our potential for a truly happy life, because it feels so good. Love feels so good, and truth and honesty and transparency and vulnerability feel so good in alignment. When something's right, it's right. When it feels so good, but after you've had a pretty troublesome few years or months or life, it's like, that could never be for me. I could never deserve to be that happy. I could never deserve to be with a person like that. And or been there, it got fucked before, it's gonna fuck up again, or whatever the stories that we have that we're telling, I'm acutely aware of, like, this profound pain of, like, I just don't deserve what I truly love, right? And so I can feel the emotion, because I know that's not true. But we all have to be able to recognize that undeservingness, right? Bring it into the awareness to go, and that's why I rejected that person. That's why I was never able to say how I feel. That's why I was never able to express that sense of, like, love and devotion. And then at the same time, I'm aware that, like, I'm just in a position where, because that's always been me, I'm kind of like, I need to refrain from that. I need to just be on my own and focus on my life and my career, and let everyone else focus on their life and their career, because that's pretty much what I see people doing, other than my inner circle of friends who've been those people in our lives that are literally there for us through and through, no matter what, versus the people who, lie and cheat and betray. And then we just keep making excuses for for shitty behavior, i.e., biofeedback. Like, we can keep making excuses for the biofeedback we're getting, or just be like, that's what's happening. That part of my world is showing me that that isn't in alignment, that person or that situation doesn't vibrate where I vibrate. And so it's going to keep biofeedbacking that to me, that that's not where you are anymore. Right. So really, really, like, annoyingly quite deep energies. So I know that some good friends are still in the deep of despair. And I, of course, want to send you mega love for that. I'm obviously traversing my own energies because I'm going unlisted, and I am really just taking space for myself and assessing, like, what where I'm really at with everything. Because I realize just again how kind of quickly we can loop into patterns. And um yeah, and then suddenly you're like on the other side, and you're like, I just did that fucking pattern again. I just did it again. I just did it again. And then the more you see the pattern, the more you can also potentially see the disparity in the situation. Because once you see your own patterning and you can refrain from just doing the pattern, i.e., for me, like, just, just do everything. Just do everything you can to make everybody else happy, but then expect nothing to for that, for the reverse, right? And then what I'm seeing there is like, oh, and this would probably be quite relational to a lot of giver types and maybe more dominantly women, but like, just observe, like, you don't have to give more than other people give. I'm seeing, and this has been revealed to me in the last few weeks, but like, I overcompensate. That's the people pleaser. That's the highly sensitive empath. Often I overcompensate. So and you can't win like that, because then it never gives the other person an opportunity to be responsible, because they're already not responsible. They're already not they're quite deeply in childhood patterns or wounded patterns, right? And so whilst you're enabling them or just doing what, i.e., this is again that narcissistic twist, is that when people are not aware, they're like, what, I'm fine. And then if they don't want to do the deeper healing, that's what you get always, is like, I'm fine. And then for someone with quite depth and sensitivity, you can feel that there is stuff going on, but that individual is blocked. They can't see it, feel it, touch it, recognize it, acknowledge it. And so in essence, as the highly sensitive empath, you just need to get better at walking away. However, in truth, better at trusting as well. I'm feeling into that now, of like, just trusting that the people meant for you are meant for you, that the people who are not, and that sometimes things that take time to build are the most long-standing. Because I think for a lot of us, there's been so much change and intensity and fucking abuse and weird, really weird headspin stuff, that it's total surrender time now. It's like such surrender piece that, like, it's only the purest of the pure that's being magnetized into your reality that's going to be able to stick around, right? It's only the deepest and the purest of our brothers and sisters that can kind of take the reins, as it were, of this expansive journey that we're all on. And it's really just so that we can live out our dreams, so that we can uh, take flight and, um, do get our yachts and our sailboats and our motorbikes and our paragliding experiences, just have these, make our dreams come true, and I think we know them, and we actually know deep down the people that align with them. And there's a difference between people genuinely invested in their growth and personal development, and people who just want to talk about it. or read books about it, in fairness. Like, there's a different aspect of our journey when we're, just always quoting different people rather than actually talking about our life experience. It's just legit, you know? And increasingly, I don't refer to other people. I don't spout rhetoric because I don't actually, if anything, I find it just like, okay, so big deal, you read that in a book. How does that apply to your life? And so many people, well, Wayne Dyer, well, Louise Hay, well, who cares? Because if you're just talking, it's not really shifting anything. And there again, I just get kind of like, "Bleh." Especially because of what I've been through. I get really bored quickly of people just talking about this shit, but energetically, I'm like, you're not vibrating any authenticity. You're just like spouting stuff you read in a book, trying to feel important, which clearly people do. People love sitting around in groups and massaging one another's egos. That's, I guess that's what I do here as well. This is just the MJ show, trying to feel self-important. There is an element of truth to that, just being transparent. Again, I'm a human with an ego and all of that. And when I see that lovely little ego of mine shine its reary head, I totally get cringed out straight up. Like, I can usually watch a video back and see like three or four different moments of like cringe egotastic getting a little bit too up itself. And then I usually have some kind of emotional storm. Usually, if I get ramped up, ego takes over, something comes, smacks me in the face, and then I'm storming like, I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. I'm such an arrogant twat. Then I remember not to be too hard on myself. I usually soothe myself with some fucking compassion, and then eventually it's cool. We're good to go. I'm like, okay, calm down. I had a little bit of a nice cleaning arrogant ego away, and then just come back to the heart space where it's like you just genuinely care about humanity. And also, as someone who's, never been able to systematize herself properly in order to make the dollar bill, I chose to endeavor to create an authentic brand based on my own life path and my connection to source, which has nothing to do necessarily with anything other than that connection. That's sort of what I endeavor to teach people. Unplug from mainstream media, stop consuming so much, start to consume or pay attention to your inner connection, and then watch how your life miraculously begins to unfold in the most awesome, loving ways. However, remember, if you're going to reach for higher experiences, you're going to have to bottom out and deal with the jit. Deal with the jit down below. No, but you have to face the shadow. You have to deal with the shitty, icky shit that's holding you down from being able to reach up into those higher experiences, which a lot of us can go through. A lot of us that resonate with being a bit of a loner, you'll vibe this. What I'm talking about. This is manifestation in the purest form. This is not manifestation in privilege. This is not manifestation to deny the problems of the world. This is manifestation even to perpetuate blind privilege. This is just manifestation, well, ultimately, like of the Christ, of manifesting our fish and our bread for the disciples of love, those who kind of just understand that there's love. Here's the thing, and for some reason I'm getting this feeling of like the love, like that's always just been my point of attraction, which is where increasingly as an adult that people who like gossip about me or talk shit about me or da da da, I'm just like, wow, it hurts so bad, but that's why I have to distance myself more because that's their energy field. Their energy field is what is super duper painful. It's not just because they're projecting onto me a bunch of bullshit. It's because of the wounds they carry. I was living in a situation where I dreaded going back and I wasn't sure why. And then it all came out was that when you're carrying that much shame and guilt in your body and you're in denial of it, for somebody like me, that becomes extraordinarily painful and toxic to even be in the same environment. With that much denial, that much toxicity, even third party, I'm finding that people who hang out with people like that, I'm kind of like, fuck, sorry. Like, as in, that's the responsibility factor, is that it doesn't matter, energetically speaking, if we associate and play games and try to kiss ass to narcissistic people. We're sort of like that. We're playing the same games, and it's tough pill to swallow, but I think we're living in pretty intense times. It's like that expression. I think it was around World War II. It was like, if good people stay silent, they're basically like playing on the side of that I you guys will probably know the quote that I mean, but it's something about like, when crazy shit is happening and good people stay silent, they basically condone it. So they're saying, so if you say nothing while all this crazy shit is happening in the world, you're basically agreeing to all the crazy shit. Rather than speak up, stand up, shine out the injustice, be fucking real about who you are and about how you feel. Stop pretending, stop lying, stop playing small, like, it's all that kind of shit that is just like, eh. And the reason I shine it and say it all is because I hold myself fully accountable, but I'm also really fucking damn tired of trying to take burden and responsibility and to figure it all out for everybody else. Because it's futile to do that. You can't. It's impossible. I mean, majority of people I come across don't even mostly understand what I'm talking about. I've met very few people who I get a feeling, a vibrational resonant sense that they actually fully understand what I am saying, and then actually have the capacity to hold space for that and love that and contain that, right? A lot of people just want to control it, or they just run away from it because I don't know why. Anywho, you guys, I think that's it for me. I love you loads, and I hope you have a really great day. Peace out.